विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्य रूप विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य रूप विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्य रूप विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मर शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विश्व महाभागवत श्री गोक्षर बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिल विश्व वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबू नितिल विष्णुपाद महाभागवत श्री गोक्षर बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल विश्व वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूप गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतिदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गोपाशाद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंग देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर गंतराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयमुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामतितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Dandavat Pranam Indira Mataji. So I have a meeting today at 8, but I need to prepare for it a bit. So today's going to be a short reading. I'm just going to finish the chapter. Should we do a little recap just to see where we are? Okay, so Maitreya Rishi, he described the appearance of Brahma. Now inside the universe, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was lying on the Garbhodaksha ocean. He glanced on the living beings who emerged within his body. A lotus sprouted from his navel and illuminated everything in the universe. Self-born Lord Brahma took birth in the lotus. Searching for the root to the lotus, Brahma entered its stem, but couldn't trace out its root. Giving up his unsuccessful search, he came back to the top and meditated on the Lord for 100 years. Brahma could then see the gigantic body of Sheshnag, upon whom Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was lying alone. He was looking splendorous with his shining bodily luster, ornaments, moon-like toenails, yellow cloth, Śrīmad mark on the chest, and so on. He acknowledged the service of his devotees with his enchanting smile that vanquished their distress. Brahma then began to offer heartfelt prayers to the Lord, seeking empowerment to carry out his service of creation from the ingredients created by the Lord already. Brahma said, "O Lord, you are the supreme noble object, having the most auspicious form. You dwell in the hearts of those devotees who smell the aroma of your lotus feet and see you in their favorite forms, through their ears, by hearing the scriptures." Smell, see, and ears, like by hearing. Please empower me with the necessary intelligence to create. Please protect me from the false pride of being the creator. May I not get deviated from the Vedic injunctions. You are unlimitedly merciful. Please bestow your benediction upon me by opening your lotus eyes. Thus Brahma was fearful of fall down and prayed for protection. Lord Vishnu then spoke to Brahma. Do not be anxious and depressed about the execution of creation. By performing austerity, tapa, you will receive my favor and thus understand within your heart everything you need to know about creating all the universal manifestations. Since your mind is fixed on me, passion will not bind you. I quickly fulfill all the desires of one who prays regularly, like you. Following my instructions, you may now generate the living beings as they had existed before in various bodily forms. After thus instructing Brahma, the Lord disappeared. So the previous verse was, so this is the Lord speaking to Brahma. When you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. At that time, you'll be situated in pure consciousness. Okay, just checking everything is okay. Okay. Now, where is it? 34. Sorry. My computer's being dumb. Okay. Nana karma vitanena prajabavi sisrikshata Natmalvasi datasmingste varshiyan mar anugraha. Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter, because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord, being cognizant of the facts of the particular time, object, and circumstances, always desires to expand the number of devotees of the Lord in various ways. Such expansions of transcendental service may appear to be material to the materialist, but factually they are expansions of the causeless mercy of the Lord towards the devotee. Plans for such activities may appear to be material activities, but they are different in potency, being engaged in the satisfaction of the transcendental senses of the Supreme. Rishimadyam nabadhnati papi yangstam rajoguna yan manomai nirbadam praja sansrijato pite. You are the original Rishi, and because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you'll be engaged in generating various progeny, the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. Purport. The same assurance is given to Brahma in the second canto, chapter 9, verse 36. Brahma's schemes and plans are all infallible. If sometimes Brahma is seen to be bewildered, as in the 10th canto, he is bewildered seeing the action of the internal potency. That is also for his further advancement in transcendental service. So his bewilderment isn't from Mahamaya, it's from Yogamaya. Arjuna is found to be similarly bewildered. All such bewilderment of the pure devotees of the Lord is specifically meant for their further advancement in knowledge of the Lord. Gyatoham bhavatatvatya durvigyeyo pidehinam yanmang tvang manyase yuktam putendriya gunatmebi. Although I am not easily knowable by the conditioned soul, you have known me today because you know that my personality is not constituted of anything material, and specifically not of the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. Purport. Knowledge of the supreme absolute truth does not necessitate negation of the material manifestation, but understanding of spiritual existence as it is. To think that because material existence is realized in forms, therefore spiritual existence must be formless, is only a negative material conception of spirit. The real spiritual conception is that spiritual form is not material form. Brahma appreciated the eternal form of the Lord in that way, and the personality of Godhead approved of Brahma's spiritual conception. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord condemned the material conception of Krishna's body, which arises because he is apparently present like a man. The Lord may appear in any of his many, many spiritual forms, but he is not materially composed, nor has he any difference between body and self. That is the way of conceiving the spiritual form of the Lord. Tubhyam atma me darshito bahi nalena salile mulam pushkarasya vichinvata. When you are contemplating whether there was a source to the stem of the lotus of your birth, when you're contemplating the source of the stem of the lotus of your birth, and you even entered into that stem, you could not trace out anything. But at that time I manifested my form from within. Purport. The personality of Godhead can be experienced only by his causeless mercy, not by mental speculation or with the help of the material senses. Material senses cannot approach the transcendental understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can be appreciated only by submissive devotional service when he reveals himself before the devotee. Only by love of Godhead can one know God, and not otherwise. The personality of Godhead cannot be seen with the material eyes, but he can be seen from within by the spiritual eyes opened by the ointment of love of Godhead. As long as one's spiritual eyes are closed due to the dirty covering of matter, one cannot see the Lord. But when the dirt is removed by the process of devotional service, one can see the Lord without a doubt. Brahma's personal endeavor to see the root of the lotus pipe failed. But when the Lord was satisfied by his penance and devotion, he revealed himself from within with no external endeavor. Yachakartangamat strotram matkatabhyudayantikam Yadvatapasite nishta sa esha mar anugraha. O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. Purport. When a living entity desires to serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, the Lord helps the devotee in so many ways as the Chaitaguru, or the spiritual master within, and thus the devotee can perform many wonderful activities beyond material estimation. By the mercy of the Lord, even a layman can compose prayers of the highest spiritual perfection. Such spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. Voluntary endeavor is the only qualification for spiritual perfection. Material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. I really like this. Sorry, let me just save this. Okay. Pritoham astu bhadram te lokanam vijayechaya yarasto shir gunamayam nirgunam anuvarnayam. Okay. I am very much pleased by your description of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to the mundaners. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord like Brahma, and those in his line of disciplic succession always desire that the Lord be known all over the universe by each and every one of the living entities. That desire of the devotee is always blessed by the Lord. The impersonalist sometimes prays for the mercy of the personality of Godhead Narayan as the embodiment of material goodness. But such prayers do not satisfy the Lord, because he is not thereby glorified in terms of his actual transcendental qualities. The pure devotees of the Lord are always most dear to him, although he is always kind and merciful to all living entities. Here the word gunamayam is significant because it indicates the Lord's possessing transcendental qualities. Ya etena pumannityam stutva stotrena mam bhajet tasyashu samprasideyam sarva kama vareshvara. Just checking the comments really quick. Okay. Any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires, for I am the Lord of all benediction. Purport. The prayers offered by Brahma cannot be chanted by anyone who desires to fulfill his own sense gratification. Such prayers can be selected only by a person who wants to satisfy the Lord in his service. The Lord certainly fulfills all desires in regard to transcendental loving service, but he cannot fulfill the whims of non-devotees, even when such casual devotees offer him the best of prayers. Purtena tapasa yagyar daner yoga samadhina radham nishreyasam pungsam mat pritis tattva vinmatam. It is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penances, sacrifices, charities, mystic activities, trances, etc., is to invoke my satisfaction. Purport. There are many traditionally pious activities in human society, such as altruism, philanthropy, nationalism, internationalism, charity, sacrifice, penance, and even meditation in trance. And all of them can be fully beneficial only when they lead to the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of any activity, social, political, religious, or philanthropic, is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. This secret of success is known to the devotee of the Lord, as exemplified by Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. As a good, non-violent man, Arjuna did not want to fight with his kinsmen, but when he understood that Krishna wanted the fight and had arranged it at Kurukshetra, he gave up his own satisfaction and fought for the satisfaction of the Lord. That is the right decision for all intelligent men. One's only concern should be to satisfy the Lord by one's activities. The Lord is satisfied by an action, whatever it may be. Then it is successful. Otherwise, it is simply a waste of time. That is the standard of all sacrifice, penance, austerity, mystic chants, and other good and pious work. Aham atmatmanang datta preshtasam preyasapi ato mairatim kuryad dehadir yatkrite priya. I am the supersoul of every individual. I am the supreme director of the dearest. People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is the dearest person in both the conditioned and liberated states. When a person does not know that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then he is in the conditioned state of life. And when one knows perfectly well that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then he is considered to be liberated. There are degrees of knowing one's relationship with the Lord, depending on the degree of realization as to why the Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of every living being. The real reason is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:7. Mamaivangsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The living entities are eternally parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The living entity is called the Atma, and the Lord is called the Paramatma. The living entity is called Brahman, and the Lord is called Parabrahman, or Parameshwar. Ishvara Paramakrishna. The conditioned souls who do not have self-realization accept the material body as the dearmost. The idea of the dearmost is then spread all over the body, both concentrated and extended. The attachment for one's own body and its extensions, like children and relatives, is actually developed on the basis of the real living entity. As soon as the real living entity is out of the body, even the body of the dear Son is no longer attractive. Therefore, the living spark, or eternal part of the Supreme, is the real basis of affection and not the body. Because the living entities are also parts of the whole living entity, that Supreme living entity is the factual basis of affection for all. One who has forgotten the basic principle of his love for everything has only flickering love because he is in Maya. The more one is affected by the principle of Maya, the more he is detached from the basic principle of love. One cannot factually love anything unless he is fully developed in the loving service of the Lord. Sorry. I like this sentence also. Okay. In the present verse, stress is given to focusing love upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word kuryat is significant here. This means one must have it. It is just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. The influence of Maya is experienced by the part and parcel spiritual entity. The influence of Maya is experienced by the part and parcel spiritual entity, but it cannot influence the supersoul, Paramatma. The Mayavadi philosophers, accepting the influence of Maya on the living entity, want to become one with the Paramatma. But because they have no actual love for Paramatma, they remain ever entrapped by the influence of Maya and are unable to approach the vicinity of Paramatma. This inability is due to their lack of affection for the Paramatma. A rich miser does not know how to utilize his wealth, and therefore, in spite of his being very rich, his miserly behavior keeps him everlastingly a poor man. On the other hand, a person who knows how to utilize wealth can quickly become a rich man, even with a small credit balance. The eyes and the sun are very intimately related, because without sunlight, the eyes are unable to see. But the other parts of the body, being attached to the sun as a source of warmth, take more advantage of the sun than do the eyes. Without possessing affection for the sun, the eyes cannot bear the rays of the sun. Or in other words, such eyes have no capacity to understand the utility of the sun's rays. Similarly, the empiric philosophers, despite their theoretical knowledge of Brahman, cannot utilize the mercy of the Supreme Brahman because they lack affection. So many impersonal philosophers remain everlastingly under the influence of Maya, because although they indulge in theoretical knowledge of Brahman, they do not develop affection for Brahman, nor do they have any scope for development of affection because of their defective method. A devotee of the sun god, even though devoid of eyesight, can see the sun god as he is, even from this planet, whereas one who is not a devotee of the sun cannot even bear the glaring sunlight. Similarly, by devotional service, even though one is not on the level of a jnani, one can see the personality of Godhead within himself due to his development of pure love. In all circumstances, one should try to develop love of Godhead, and that will solve all contending problems. Sarvavedamayenedam atmanatmatmavayonina prajasrijayata purvam yascha mayanushirate. By following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before by dint of your complete Vedic wisdom and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. Maitreya uvacha tasma evam jagat sarashtre pradhana purusheshvara vyajyedam svena rupena kanjana bhastiro dade. The sage Maitreya said, after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand, the primeval Lord, the personality of Godhead, and his personal form as Narayan, disappeared. Purport. Before his activity in creating the universe, Brahma saw the Lord. That is the explanation of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. When the creation awaited Brahma's activity, Brahma saw the Lord, and therefore the Lord existed in his personal form before the creation. His eternal form is not created by the attempt of Brahma, as imagined by less intelligent men. The personality of Godhead appeared as he is before Brahma, and he disappeared from him in the same form, which is not materially tinged. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 9th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Alright, so tomorrow we're going to read, as advised by Lord Vishnu, Brahma meditated for 100 celestial years and thus acquired transcendental knowledge from within. He then entered into the whirl of the all-expansive lotus and first divided it into 3 divisions and later into 14 divisions. He could thus create the 14 worlds suitable for the habitation of different types of living beings. Okay, and then we're going to learn about Brahma first created 5 features of ignorance, avidya, and then these 5 elements bind the living beings in various miseries. Yet such creation was necessary, as explained further. Anyways, that's what we're going to read about tomorrow. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gram Gandharvika Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Bhakshara Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Vaishnava Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Bhakshara Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nagurya Guru Varga ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashakanath Shad Gosai Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai, Nama Jai Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun ki Jai, Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai, Shnitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. See you tomorrow.